Hi, well it's great to see so many of you here this evening to help us celebrate the publication of the first international standard for sustainable procurement, ISO 20400. ISO 20400 itself complements and is complemented by other ISO standards, other international standards. It supports the requirement in ISO 14001 to develop sustainability practices within the supply chain. It builds on the core principles of social responsibility in ISO 26000, and it would be supported itself by the provisions of the new ISO 44001 for collaborative business relationships.
The world needs a standard for sustainable procurement because societal expectations are increasing daily, and if we look back 10 years, the expectation from society is massive. We need an international standard because many organisations are global and multinational, and even if they're not, their supply chains are multinational. And organisations deliver a vast majority of what they do through their supply chains. So it's no longer good enough just to have a nice CSR policy for your own organisation. You need to embed it through your supply chain, and we need a standard strategic framework for doing that.
I believe BS ISO 20400 gives sustainability professionals within organisations the means to make the sustainable procurement argument at boardroom level. And it also gives organisations the ability to assess their suppliers' sustainability credentials and demonstrate their own.
The transformational power of our spend is huge, and we need to harness that and deliver sustainable outcomes through our supply chains.
The standard is for everybody. It's a voluntary standard, so that means it just provides best practice guidance. So you need to put it in the context of your organisation, your industry sector, and the challenges that you face. So you need to take from it the advice and the guidance that's relevant to you and make it relevant and appropriate to your organisation. So it's very much a framework standard, and it takes it from the higher strategic level down to the procurement level.
I don't think there's been a more important time for the professional than there is at this point in time. So businesses have a real need now to integrate themselves in society far more than they are doing. And the kind of sustainability stuff that Kath was speaking about is absolutely central to that. So the benefit of the sustainable procurement standards, or one of the benefits, is it gives the professionals a framework, a very sound framework from which to build their procurement principles on, and actually advise the organisation they work for of some real sound procurement principles.
They say procurement, good procurement, effective procurement is a market differentiator. We've had a lot of conversations about the role of the procurer and the role of the client as a real driver of good behaviours within supply chains. So when you read ISO 20400, you'll realise you also need to have open and honest conversations with your suppliers if you are going to achieve perhaps some sustainability KPIs that you embed within your businesses.
So a lot of people often ask, is a new ISO standard applicable for large businesses only? They are concerned that maybe small businesses won't be able to engage with it and it won't be actually designed for it. But actually, as a member of the committee that helped to create the standard, I can absolutely assure people that this standard has been always considering the needs of the small business. So there is a comparability that a business can be reassured of. Wherever somebody has come from, whatever sector they've come from, the standard is applicable, small to large businesses, whatever continent they're working on. That's a real benefit because it makes this whole topic of sustainable procurement accessible to all types of organisation, and it makes things comparable. And this is really important. We want the standard to be used by people, and we want it to help them be more sustainable in their procurement practices.
You've got two choices in procurement, haven't you? Either you can choose a supplier, and if you want to, or you can choose not to choose a supplier. I just ask you to consider that if you're talking about sustainability and providing it's right for your values and your business, if a supplier's not quite doing what you want, is it best to disregard them, or is it best to encourage them to change? Our approach is far better for us to encourage our suppliers to change, and we have a team of people that work with our suppliers to change the way they do some of their activities.
Well, I think the standard is a tremendous move forward. I think as we look to get the sustainability agenda across British companies, UK companies. We need to create a common framework where organisations know what the standards are, and we can benchmark against each other and all strive towards the same goals. And I think the standard will allow people to judge where they are against a common framework. They'll be able to assess, they'll be able to measure and improve where they want to go to based on their own corporate identity. So I think it's a really positive change for UK industry.
I think it's a great standard. I'd love to see businesses integrating it. I'd love to hear those conversations. Thank you very much for coming to Loughborough University London tonight.